Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting of Newark City Council will come to order. Before we do the roll, President Ellington is not able to be with us tonight. He had a slight injury or an injury of some sort yesterday, and he's unable to be here tonight. So, as President Pro Tem, I'll be sitting in. And we will begin this evening by asking the clerk to call the roll.
Mrs. Floyd? Here. Mr. Guthrie?
Here.
Ms. Hall?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Marmee?
Here.
Mr. Rath?
Here.
Mr. Roletta?
Here.
Mr. Blake? Mr. Bub?
Here.
Mr. Cost?
Here.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have everyone present but Mr. Blake and Mr. Ellington. Next on the agenda this evening is the invocation, which will be led by Mrs. Floyd, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to ask Auditor Johnson if he would lead the pledge for us tonight. Is that okay, Steve? Okay, please rise.
Would you bow your heads, please? Almighty God, we ask you that in this very cold weather you be with the citizens of Newark, especially those in particularly difficult circumstances. We ask that you be with those who are not here tonight, with Mr. Ellington and Mr. Blake. We ask that you be with our police officers and our firefighters as they're out in this difficult weather, facing in some cases dangerous circumstances or difficult circumstances. We ask that you be with us as we make difficult decisions, the decisions that affect all the citizens of Newark. We ask this in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and I want to thank everybody in advance for bearing with me. It's been 5 years, actually, I think, since I presided as president, and so I'm not totally up to speed, but I'm going to do my very best, and I will treat everybody here with the utmost respect. First item tonight is caucus.
Mr. President,
Mr. Roletta.
I would just like to note that I've been planning to offer a motion to table Ordinance 15-04 until Mr. Blake can return. I believe the correct date would be March 16th.
Okay, so Mr. Roletta will be making a motion regarding Ordinance 1504. Okay, any other?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes.
I'd like to excuse Mr. Ellington and Mr. Blake.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Marley, second by Ms. Floyd to excuse Mr. Ellington and Mr. Blake. Appreciate that, Doug. We don't, if I recall, there's no vote on the motion to excuse, correct? Okay. All right. Do we have a motion to adopt the minutes of February 2nd?
Motion.
Second.
Who said that? Was that? Okay. Mr. Rath? Second. Second by Mr. Johnson to adopt the minutes of February 2nd. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The minutes of February the 2nd are therefore adopted. Next, we have an appointment by Mayor Hall appointing Mary Billy to the Combined General Health District Board as one of the 2 City of Newark representatives. Her term begins immediately to fill the term of a past member and expires on March 31st, 2016. I do believe we need a motion to accept that appointment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Ryan, second by Mr. Rath to approve the mayor's appointment of Mary Billy. Questions or comments regarding the motion? If there are none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ms. Billy's appointment by Mayor Hall is therefore approved. We have two standing committee reports, one being of Finance, the other being of the Service Committee. If there are no objections, both of those standing committee reports will be approved and filed. Reports of city officials. We have a report from Auditor Johnson, the operating report for the period ending January 31st, 2015. We have a report from Barb Jobs, our tax commissioner, income tax revenue reports for the period ending January 15, 2015, and another income tax revenue report by Ms. Jobs for the period ending January 31st, 2015. And from Stephen Sarver, our police chief, the Division of Police 2014 annual report. So, with no objection, the reports of city officials will be received and filed. Communications this evening. The Ohio Department of Liquor Control transfer application for Newark Foods LLC at 814 Mount Vernon Road. The Ohio Department of Liquor Control new application for M&D Groceries Incorporated, doing business as Country Club Carryout at 597 Country Club Drive. Roger Loomis, our utility superintendent, noting water liens in the amount of $25,085.91. We have 12 pieces of communications regarding the pit bull legislation that have been received in favor of adopting Ordinance 1504 and 3 in opposition. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the first opportunity for citizen comments this evening. We ask that anyone who would like to address council please come to the podium, give us your name and address for the public record, and state your piece.
How you doing? I'm Officer Arndt, Dave Arndt, with 39 South 4th Street at the North Police Department. Officer Coordinator. I'm here to talk about Ordinance 15-05, the elimination of the captain position. I just want to bring a couple things before council votes on it. There's very few opportunities for promotion at the Division of Police, and we are opposed to losing one of those spots for opportunity for one of our sergeants to advance himself. Also, we're told that the last time we met on this with the committee that we would be going possibly above 70. I'm here to tell you by April we'll be down another 3 officers through retirements. And we have a history at the police department of not backfilling positions once people leave. We also, Chief Sarver has indicated that he's leaving here within a couple weeks. I would like for the new chief to have a say in what happens with the captain's position. They said that is soon. Also, the union is open to talk about reorganization, just not elimination of spots. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Mr. Arndt? Other citizens? Yes, ma'am. Yes. Hello, Mrs. Jones.
Good evening. Peggy Jones, 1115 Wilmington Court in Newark, Ohio. I have been reading a lot about the pit bull situation in the city of Newark as well as in other communities. And finally, I thought I needed to come down here because I understand the people that have pit bulls. They love their animals like we all love our animals, regardless of what breed they are. I also am aware that all dogs are animals. They can bite at any time, regardless of breed that they are. I also know that when you are a single person, widow, whatever, that animals become territorial. And when somebody stranger comes around, animals will react for most part. I've seen it happen in my own home. I've seen it happen with my own veterinarian whose pet cow attacked him, and he's lucky he's alive. That happened a year ago. And he was moving its calf, to a barn because it was cold weather like tonight, and she'd had the calf out in the field, and he was moving it, and he's lucky to be alive. I guess my big concern is we have a law of vicious dogs, and pit bulls falls under that jurisdiction in the city of Newark at this time. I'm wondering what happens if this gets taken off the books. Suppose my child or yours or some adult or somebody gets mauled by a pit bull that got out, was not in control of his family. Where does that put the city? We had a law, we're going to get rid of it, maybe, hopefully not. Are we liable? What happens to us? Maybe it's not even a fair question, but it concerns me. I have a great-grandchild that's 14 months old that doesn't live in this community, but there is now a pit bull in that family, and I know for a fact that dog's going to bite because it's a puppy and it's mean. And I'll probably end with this. Years ago, when my husband and I moved to town in 1959, I wanted a dog. I had a dog all my life, and I wanted a dog, and I wanted a Boston Terrier because that's what I was raised with. So I read an ad in the Advocate about Boston Terriers for sale at Old Doc Thomas on Granville Road out in Granville. He had a kennel. He was a veterinarian, and he was elderly at that time. So my husband and I, my little daughter, we went out to Dr. Thomas's, made an appointment to see these Boston Terriers. Walked in and he said to me, Mrs. Jones, you don't want these dogs. And I said, I've always had a Boston Terrier, that's what I want. He said, these are not good dogs. He said, they're mean, they act just like their parents. He said, you will find, I've been in this business for years, he said, animals behave like their owners. And he said, don't ever go looking for a dog, no matter what the breed is, without going back unannounced to see if the dog had been sedated and that both parents are on the premises. So I'm hoping that, that this doesn't come to a vote tonight with not everybody in attendance. I think this is such a tough issue and an important issue for the community of the city of Newark that I think every council member that's serving the community should be in here to vote for it. And if there aren't, I don't see that. I don't want to see that end on a council president to make a decision of killing the vote or whatever for a tie vote. I just think that everybody should be in attendance when this comes up for a vote. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Okay, next. Yes. Name and address for the record, and I forgot to announce that the purpose of citizen comments is for us to hear from folks, that it's not a back and forth exchange. I think most people know that. Yes, ma'am.
Allie Long, 217 South Quentin Road. And I am on behalf of my other supporters about the pit bull breed. I will let you guys know I do have insurance on my pit bull. I carry $100,000 liability insurance on him through Geico. I happened to call Geico and asked them how many dog bites do they get annually. It's outrageous how they get them, how many they get. But it's not pit bulls. They've only received maybe 3 or 4 phone calls last year and everything about a pit bull attack. The other ones were German Shepherds, Great Danes, Boston Terriers, Labs, and all those other mixes. But it wasn't a pit bull mix or purebred. Now, whether or not you guys do vote this and everything to drop it, thumbs up. Congratulations. If you guys don't, then you might want to change your law. Pit bull, I'm being charged for having a pit bull in my house. Sorry, but that's not a breed of dog. Pit bull isn't. So if you guys don't pass it, you need to change that one word. They're not pit bulls. The American Pit Bull Terrier, the Staffordshire Terrier, those are the breeds. Another thing, I'm looking at 6 months in jail. They're going to take my pit bull away from me and have him euthanized. Why? He's never caused any damage. He's never hurt anybody, has never attacked another dog. Toby has never received a call about my pit bull, and I'm sure that he's probably never received a phone call about everybody else's. I'm not trying to single him out. I like him. I just don't like how he acts, how he discriminates against us pit bull owners ourselves. Not only are the dogs being punished, but so are we. I've never had a record, at least in this county. But sorry, I had to switch that around. But I just went to court and everything for harboring a pit bull, an exotic / restricted animal. Now, if you guys want to, I did do research about other dogs that are used as fighting. Boston Terriers are on the list. Why don't you guys consider them vicious dogs? Akitas, wolf hybrids. Why don't you guys consider them vicious when they can turn just as quick as what a pit bull can? My Chow, she will turn quicker than my pit bull. My pit bull has short-term memory loss. I'm sure I've already told you guys that. He has to go to the vet once a month for it, and he's not going to make it to be 2 years old. I have to have him put down before he's 2 because his memory is deteriorating. Now, by the time that does happen, in the midst of it all and everything, the AKC test that you guys passed last year, the year before, whenever you guys passed it, that they have to go through that. Why? I know my dog's probably the only one that's got the short-term memory loss. He was rescued when he was 3 months old, but he doesn't remember anybody. I go through that, or I was going through that on a daily basis with him. I'd walk out of my house, come back in, and he has totally forgotten me. My Chow, I can go and take her on a walk, bring her back in. He don't remember who she is. So if you guys would just take the time to actually think about it, please pass this. Like I said, you guys are the first pit bull that they bred to fight and everything. You guys are judging it off of that one pit. Are you guys going to say that all of us are killers because the first person on earth that killed someone, murdered someone? You guys going to sit there and look at all of us as murderers now? That's what you guys are doing, and I don't think it's right. And another thing, pit bulls, it's a myth. They don't have locking jaws either. And they don't attack just to attack. They have to be provoked.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Next? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Teresa Wagers. I live at 229 West Main Street. I had never heard about BSL until the end of July of 2010 when Toby came to take my 2 American Staffordshire Terriers, or pit bulls as you guys call them. My male had smelled a dog being walked by their owners down the street, and the female was in heat. Of course, my male was unaltered because we hadn't had a chance to go get it done yet, so he jumped out our window, and these people called. Well, Toby came and got them. They were both put down. Neither dog would have hurt a fly. They were not raised that way. I don't think BSL is right. I mean, you're taking innocent dogs away from their families. They're not just pets, they're members of our families. And I really hope you guys repeal this, because it's senseless to have so many dogs, so many pit bulls that are innocent being put down. I mean, I do understand that they can turn, that there are some that are raised to be vicious. But you don't punish the breed, you punish the deed. You punish those who are training them to be mean, are training them to be guard dogs, training them to be fighting dogs. Don't punish the ones who are innocent. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wagers. Folks, I think the council president has announced in the past, and I will again tonight, that I'd be very grateful if you could avoid applause. I mean, everyone knows that comes up. They're grateful to have your support, I'm sure, and it would just allow the meeting to go on and let folks make their statements without being interrupted. Yes, sir.
Okay, my name's Terry Lyle. I live at 294 Stair Road. We're not asking you to do away with the BSL. What we're asking you to do is the indiscriminate taking of dogs just because of what they look like. You can still have your vicious dogs and you can still have your dangerous dogs. But accuse somebody of having a dangerous dog because of what it looks like and that dog actually being vicious is two different things. What you're doing with the BSL as it stands today is you're arresting the crackhead and letting the crack dealer go. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. You're making criminals out of people. I don't own a pit bull, but from personal experience, I'm almost 66 years old. I can count on those 4 fingers the number of vicious, on those 3 fingers, the number of vicious pit bulls I've seen in my life. My entire life. My daughter down in Florida just put her adult male unaltered pit bull down last September at 15 years old. At one point she had 8 pit bulls and a chihuahua. She brought her granddaughter into that house to live as a newborn. She's still living there today, is almost a 10-year-old. Never had one issue, other than the fact that a lot of us have sore arms from throwing golf balls for one of them. The other day we surrendered some newborn puppies. Well, they weren't newborn, they're 8 weeks old puppies at the Humane Society. There was a family in one of the rooms that was checking out on seeing a pit bull, if you want to call it that. When they walked out of that room with that dog, I happened to be coming down the hall. I reached down to pet it. He looked up and licked me in the face. Now, if that's vicious, God help us. No, we're not asking you to do away with vicious dogs or dangerous dogs. What we're asking you to do is eliminate the unnecessary discrimination and euthanization of a dog just because of the way he looks. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Lyle. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Yes.
My name is Tyler Barnhill. I live at 213 Wilson Street, Newark, Ohio.
The last name is Barnhill?
Barnhill.
Barnhill, thank you.
I'm an owner of a pit bull and boxer mix. I believe that pit bulls should not be judged by their breed, but instead judged by their individual actions. I was here 2 weeks ago and listened to a number of Newark citizens speak on changing this law. Some are very emotional, most making a whole lot of sense. In my government class at the Career and Technical Educational Center of Lincoln County, we learned about Popular Sovereignty in the elections. The council was elected by the citizens of Newark, and therefore I believe that the council should pay attention to what the citizens are saying in regards to this law. At the last meeting, no one came forward wanting the law to be kept the same. If the council questions rather the crowd that attends the council meetings reflects the views of the majority of the Newark citizens, then why not delay the vote by a month and conduct a reliable poll of the city residents before the vote? Even better, since I believe that the city charter allows for it. Why not put it on the ballot as a referendum and let the voters decide? Wouldn't that be the democratic way? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Barnhill. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am.
Tammy Mitchell, 26 East Channel Street. The reason why I think the BSL is ridiculous is because good people that are taking care of their dogs and stuff, they're the ones serving jail time, fines, and getting first-degree misdemeanors on their record when they've never had a record. These people, like the one guy that just cut up his dog, he's getting the same exact thing that my son and I got, except a little more time in jail. I mean, before he was going to get that. I don't know what he's going to get now, but because that was all they could give him. We got the highest misdemeanor that we could get just because the dog got out of the yard. Now, whose dog don't get out of the yard? And he was going to get the same thing because that was the highest they could give him besides a felony. We're getting punished instead of people like him or people that are teaching them to fight and stuff. They're getting a little slap on the hand and maybe a fine or some jail time. We got fine, jail time, and a mark on our records. You know, just because a dog gets out of a yard or somebody had their dog barking, or we're not criminals. They're the criminals. They're the ones that should be getting punished like we've been getting punished for nothing. It's just wrong. So I just wish you guys would really think about that because it is wrong. I'm 50-some years old, I ain't going to say, but, you know, and I got 2 first-degree misdemeanors on my record. Come on. I've never had a record in my life. You know, and then my son sleep on the couch. He didn't even know the dogs were even out till the next day. I had to tell him what I did. I left the gate open. You know, and he serves 10 days in jail, and the boy didn't do anything and gets 2 first-degree misdemeanors. And then between the two of us, we get $900 in fines. It's just plain wrong. And that's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Annette Spahn, S-P-O-H-N. I live at 51 Bowers Avenue. I do not own a pit. I do own a full-blooded boxer. I do like dogs and I do like pits, and I would like to acquire a pit, but not living here because I'm sorry, I'm a single mom, I have 2 kids, and I have lupus, and I cannot afford to work and pay the $100,000, $500,000 insurance that is required. That being said, I spoke with Jay Hottinger over a text message yesterday evening, and he has given me permission and has asked that I give his statement here before you guys. And as you all well know, he is a representative of this city who lives here, grown up here, and was raised here. So I thought you guys should hear his point of view as a state senator also, and as a citizen of Newark. He told me good luck. I think common sense would dictate that legislation should not be breed-specific but dog-specific. There can be vicious pit bulls and mild pit bulls. Likewise, there can be vicious labs, retrievers, terriers, etc., and mild ones. It has more to do with how they are raised and trained and cared for in their environment than their genetic disposition. Comment was made in here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, that stated that pit bulls and their parents and this and that. Does that mean all criminals, that all their kids down the lines of generations to come are going to be criminals and bad people? I find that to just be ridiculous. Just because pit bull and our histories have been trained to fight and have been known to be vicious does not necessarily mean all that breed is going to be vicious. Poodles used to be on it. Labradors, Chihuahuas. Personally, I can't stand little dogs or Chihuahuas because I fear them more than I would fear a 700-pound dog any day of the week. They're small, they can attack kids easier, and they have a lot more accessibility to children. I just thought you guys should hear that what our state legislator and upstanding citizens that can't make it here have to say about this, because opinion is, you guys think all of the people here that are supporting this, sending you emails, calling you and everything, are pit bull owners. Not all of us here own pit bulls and believe in this, that this should be banned. Our state believed it and took it off. Other states and cities are doing it. Change the law. Don't make it so specific as far as breed of pit bulls. Make it vicious dogs, dangerous dogs, and go that route. Because I was raised and born here, out on the east end of Newark, graduated here, had certain individuals in here as my teacher at Lincoln Junior High School. Had other people in here that I had their daughter as a teacher. Helped Alex with his committee and his campaign for my district that he's in. I love North. I want it to go back to what we want, what we believe in, and what we can make it to be a better community. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Pond. Okay, that will conclude the first opportunity for citizen comments, and there is a second opportunity after the legislation is dealt with by council. That then brings us to ordinances on the second reading, with the first being ordinance 1504.
Yes, sir.
Read the title.
Ordinance 15-04 by Mr. Rath and Mr. Marmee, an ordinance amending Chapter 618 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Newark, Ohio regarding breed-specific vicious dog designation.
Mr. President,
Mr. Rath.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt 15-04.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rath, second by...
President.
Can we get the motion on that?
Sure.
Motion by Mr. Rath, second by Mr. Marmee, to adopt ordinance 15-4.
Mr. President.
Mr. Rath.
Thank you. 2 weeks ago, I made a motion to table this issue because of the outpouring and outcry of all the citizens of Newark.
Mr. Rath, do you have a motion? I mean, you really should make your motion.
Can we not discuss the issue that I made a motion to it?
Mr. Law Director, shouldn't there be a motion on the floor?
There is a motion to adopt. You can speak to the motion to adopt.
Oh, is that what you're speaking to? The motion to adopt? You're not making a motion to table?
My intention is to make a motion to a table, but I thought I could justify that before I did.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Okay.
Is that appropriate, Mr. Law Director?
You have to ask the president that question.
Go ahead.
Thank you. As I was saying, 2 weeks ago I thought it was important to have this issue voted on by all of council, and that's why I made a motion 2 weeks ago to table this issue. I still believe in that. I've made the statement 2 weeks ago that I would make the motion again, and I'm going to stand by my word and do what I said I was going to do. I think that this is an issue that does need to be voted on by all members of council. And for that reason, I will make a motion to table this until March 16th.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rath, second by Mr. Roletta, to table ordinance 15-4. A motion to table is not debatable, so the clerk will call the roll.
Mrs. Floyd?
Yes.
Mr. Guthrie?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Marmee?
Yes.
Mr. Rath?
Yes.
Mr. Roletta?
Yes.
Mr. Blake? Mr. Bub?
Yes.
Mr. Cost?
Yes. Point of order. I don't believe it's appropriate for the president of council to cast a vote in this roll call.
Okay, I'll yield to the law director on that.
Actually, when the president pro tem is presiding over the meeting, our rules specifically permit that person to vote.
All right, my apologies.
Okay, the motion to lay the item on the table, it was to a date specific, wasn't it? And that was
March 16th.
March 16th is therefore adopted by unanimous vote. That brings us to ordinance 15-5. Ordinance...
Ordinance 15-05 by Mrs. Floyd, Mr. Rath, Mr. Cost, Mr. Marmee, and ordinance amending the position authorization tables of the City of Newark Department of Public Safety, Division of Police, reducing the position of captain by 1 through attrition, resulting in a strength authorization of 3.
Mr. President,
Ms. Floyd.
I make a motion that we adopt ordinance 1505.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Floyd, second by Mr. Cross for the adoption of ordinance 1505. Questions or comments regarding the motion to adopt?
Mr. President.
Mr. Levin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to express my thoughts on this proposal. I'm being told that this proposal is necessary to put additional police officers on the streets. I've heard it from the administration, and I read it in an opinion piece from the Advocate's editorial board. However, the truth is there have been opportunities to hire officers with money saved from retirements and resignations, and those positions remained unfilled. Now we're being told to eliminate a captain's position, and to be honest, I'm not buying it. I truly believe that if our police department was properly staffed with enough officers, then this captain's position would be needed. I think a better approach would be to keep the captain's position in order to shift some administrative duties away from patrol sergeants so that the sergeants could spend more time out on the street assisting with calls for service and other patrol duties. That all could be done without eliminating a position in our police department. And that could be done today. And I think it's important to remember that if this proposal is passed, it doesn't mean an additional officer will be on the street tomorrow. It will be a matter of months before that new officer has the training that he or she needs and is ready for patrol duty. And it's clear that our officers need more manpower on the streets today. So I will be voting against this proposal, and I urge others to do the same. Thank you.
Ms. Roletta? Other questions or comments? I am, in the 5+ years I served as president of council, I tried to avoid passing the gavel. But this issue, I was prepared to speak on, and I'm going to speak on it. So I'm going to pass the gavel to Mr. Bubb, and once I pass the gavel to Mr. Bubb, he will preside until the clerk has taken a roll call on this measure. Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Scott, did you want to comment?
Yeah, thanks. I'm going to vote no tonight on Resolution 15-05, and I'd like to take a minute or two to share my reasoning. To start with, we've only been assured by Safety Director Spurgeon that one patrolman will be hired if we agree to eliminate the captain's slot. With all due respect, that is giving us the position that we budgeted for this year to start with barely a month ago. We are soon losing a good police chief in Stephen Sarver. According to Chief Sarver, in 2010, we had 65 patrol officers, while today, thanks primarily to leadership at the State House, which is not as concerned about the safety of our communities as we are, we're down to 54 patrol officers with the same number of supervisors, 1 chief, 4 captains, and 11 sergeants. We currently have a vacancy for a chemist in the police lab that may not be filled. The entry-level wage for that position is actually higher than an entry-level police officer. So let's consider removing the chemist from the table of organization and hiring a frontline police officer with the dollars budgeted for the chemist position. With the departure of Chief Sarver, we have a golden opportunity to consider restructuring the police department. Generally, there is merit to eliminating a captain slot. However, it should be done as part of a restructuring that should result in more patrol officers on the streets of our city. Some might suggest that City Council should not be fully engaged in restructuring the police department. However, it's important to keep in mind that this council is charged with the responsibility of creating and eliminating positions in Section 307 of our city charter. I'm voting no because I think now is the time to slow down and consider a restructuring. Let me suggest one possible direction. Consider the merits of having only 1 or 2 captains. This could be achieved through attrition. As captains are advanced or retire, they could be replaced with lieutenants. In time, 4 or 5 lieutenant positions could be created, and the number of sergeants, which is currently 11, could be reduced to 7 or 8. Such a restructuring should include a roundtable of discussion by representatives of the administration, the police leadership, 2 members of City Council, and those impacted the most, the officers who protect our city. The goal of a well-thought restructuring could result in more officers. It should result in more officers on the street, which is most crucial. More opportunity for advancement for our police officers, which in my opinion will improve morale at the department and allow us to retain a department of dedicated officers. Studies show, almost every human resource study shows, that having the opportunity to advance is a crucial ingredient to a productive workforce. If we work hard at a well-thought restructuring, and if we work together with input from all parties, I think we can even save some money, which is paramount in our current environment, primarily because of the cuts by state government. Please join me in voting no so we can move promptly toward a comprehensive restructuring that values the input of all parties with a goal of improving public safety for our citizens. Ms. Floyd and Mr. Marmee could act quickly to appoint 2 council representatives to work with the mayor and the stakeholders to achieve a sound restructuring. We can do this if we look at ways to make it work, instead of focusing on how we can deep six the entire concept. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Does anyone else this evening want to comment on ordinance 15-05? Mr. Marmee, you have the floor.
A lot of what we do in our position, like Mr. Guthrie has indicated, is we make decisions as far as the positions, the elimination and creation of positions. The administration has done, in my opinion, a great job of determining the need for this change due to a couple of things that Mr. Guthrie alluded to, which is just the financial environment that we are in as far as our budget. There are a number of factors that come into play as far as why we're in the situation we are when it comes to funding of our safety forces. Personnel costs are definitely the largest expense, or investment, however you look at it. I look at it more as an investment towards our safety forces, and we need to make sure that we're doing our best in providing the distribution of those funds in the most efficient manner. More badges on the street is definitely the goal that I have for the citizens of Newark. I'm a firm believer that that is the goal of the administration. And now, can they get to a number or be held to a specific number? I think that they have done a good job of saying that they are attempting to get to that. But just like we didn't know that the budget cuts as far as from the state were coming, just like we didn't know that the pay increases were going to be where they are 2 years ago, we can't make promises that we don't know if we can uphold. So I think that they are doing their best to make sure that they are working towards that and striving towards that, to have as many badges and boots. Also, I'll put the firefighters in there too, to protect our citizens. And they are making decisions on a daily basis along with our support and our assistance, and making sure that the safety of the citizens is first and foremost. And I am in support of this move because I think it's a move in the right direction and making sure that we're fiscally responsible and that we are doing the best we can as far as putting as many dollars into the salaries of and the number of police officers where we need them the most, which is protecting citizens and answering calls and doing all the duties that are required to make sure that our community is safe. And so therefore I am in support of this move, and I would urge everybody to support the same.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments regarding ordinance 15-05? Clerk, I will ask you to call the roll on ordinance 15-05.
Mrs. Floyd?
Yes.
Mr. Guthrie?
No.
Ms. Hall?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Marmee?
Yes.
Mr. Rath?
Yes.
Mr. Roletta?
No.
Mr. Blake? Mr. Bub?
Yes.
Mr. Cost?
Yes.
Okay, that ordinance will pass 6-3. I will pass the gavel back to President Pro Tem Guthrie.
Thanks, Mr. Bub. All right, that brings us to resolutions on the second reading.
Resolution 15-07 by Mrs. Floyd, Mr. Rath, Mr. Cost, Mr. Marmee, a resolution appropriating monies for current expenses of municipal corporation.
Mr. President,
Mr. Marmee?
make a motion to adopt resolution 15-07.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Marmee, second by Mr. Cost to adopt resolution 15-07. Questions or comments? There are none. Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Floyd?
Yes.
Mr. Guthrie?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Marmee?
Yes.
Mr. Rath?
Yes.
Mr. Roletta?
Yes.
Mr. Blake? Mr. Bub?
Yes.
And Mr. Cost?
Yes.
By a vote of 9-0, resolution 15-07 is therefore adopted. Brings us to resolution 15-09.
Resolution 15-09 by Mr. Cost, Mrs. Floyd, Mr. Rath, a resolution appropriating monies for the current expenses of municipal corporation. Motion to adopt.
Do you have a second? A motion by Ms. Hall to adopt resolution 15-09, second by Mr. Cost. Questions or comments regarding the motion to adopt?
Mr. President.
Mr. Marmee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to not vote in support of this resolution. Not to say that we don't need items such as the ones that are on this ordinance, or this resolution, excuse me. However, I really feel that we need to make an extended effort to make sure that the majority of our capital improvement funds go towards road improvements and making sure that the paving dollars are there. And looking at the predictions as far as the numbers going towards paving dollars, I don't feel that it's where it needs to be to maintain even the current level. We're going to fall further behind without that, so therefore I will not be in support of this.
Other questions or comments regarding resolution 1509? If there are none, clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Floyd?
Yes.
Mr. Guthrie?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Marmee?
No.
Mr. Rath?
Yes.
Mr. Roletta?
Yes.
Mr. Blake? Mr. Bub?
Yes.
Mr. Cost?
Yes.
Resolution 1509 passes 7 passes by a vote of 8-1. Therefore, it is adopted. Now we have resolutions on the first reading, with the first being resolution 15-10.
Resolution 15-10 by Mrs. Floyd, Mr. Cost, Mr. Marmee, a resolution authorizing and directing the mayor of the city of Newark to submit an application to the Ohio Department of Public Safety for an award of fiscal year 2015-2016 funding under the Ohio EMS Training and Equipment Grant Program.
Okay, resolution 15-10 will be held for second reading. The next resolution on tonight's agenda is resolution 15-11.
Resolution 15-11 by Mrs. Floyd, Mr. Cost, Mr. Marmee, a resolution appropriating monies for current expenses of municipal corporation.
Mr. President,
Mr. Marmee?
I make a motion to waive the 2-day reading rule on Resolution 15-11.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Marmee, second by Mr. Bug to waive the 2-day reading rule on Resolution 15-11. Questions or comments regarding the motion?
Mr. President, this needs to be expedited because they need to get this work completed as soon as possible.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? If there are none, the clerk will call the roll on the motion to waive.
Mrs. Floyd?
Yes.
Mr. Guthrie?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Marmee?
Yes.
Mr. Rath?
Yes.
Mr. Roletta?
Yes.
Mr. Blake? Mr. Bub?
Yes.
And Mr. Cost?
Yes.
Resolution 15-11 has the second reading waived. Mr. Marmee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I make a motion to adopt Resolution 15-11.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Marmee, second by Ms. Floyd to adopt Resolution 15-11. Questions or comments regarding the motion to adopt? If there are none, clerk call the roll.
Mrs. Floyd?
Yes.
Mr. Guthrie?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Marmee?
Yes.
Mr. Rath?
Yes.
Mr. Roletta?
Yes.
Mr. Blake? Mr. Bub?
Yes.
And Mr. Cost?
Yes.
Resolution 15-11 is adopted by a vote of 9-0. The next item is Resolution 15-12.
Resolution 15-12 by Mrs. Floyd, Mr. Cost, Mr. Marmee, a resolution appropriating monies for the current expenses of the municipal corporation.
Resolution 15-12 will be held for the second reading. Brings us to Resolution 15-13.
Resolution 15-13 by Mr. Cost, Mr. Marmee, Mrs. Floyd, a resolution authorizing and directing the mayor of the city of Newark to apply for financial support from the state of Ohio 2015 Nature Works Grant.
Resolution 15-13 will be held for the second reading. Brings us to Resolution 15-14.
Resolution 15-14 by Mr. Cost and Mrs. Floyd, a resolution authorizing and directing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids and enter into contracts subject to the appropriation of funds for various construction projects.
Okay, Resolution 15-14 will be held for a second reading. And that concludes our legislation tonight and brings us back to citizen comments. This time, I'd like to welcome anyone who would like to come to the podium, comment, just your name and address for the record. Yes,
sir. My name is Brian Tackett. I live at 620 McKinley Avenue, Newark, Ohio. I've came here to several of these council meetings. You guys are all aware by now of, the polarizing situation here we have. News channels are here, reporters are here. Each and every week we seem to have more and more falsehoods of dog bites reported at the same time that we're here. That's a little frustrating for me. Back in the olden days when Walter Cronkite was reporting the news, you dealt in facts and not sensationalism. That seems to be a lost thing here today in reporting. You've heard Mr. Marmee. He gave you guys facts. You guys have heard from citizens who, basically have become criminals now. We've heard from Mr. Sasson. He had his own view and opinion of the checks and balances that us citizens are facing with, from the starting from law enforcement, the ACO officer, how we're being charged. He alluded to the fact that everybody has, a fair shot at the prosecutor's office giving them a thorough review, and also, having your day in court. I'm going to have to disagree with that. I myself had a dog. Wasn't a vicious dog. He was a pound rescue. This was years ago before the ACO officer, Toby Wills, even became employed with the city here. He was working at the county. the thing is this, he was a family pet. Hey, he got out, big deal. I grew up on a farm in the country. We didn't even have dog tags on our dogs in Pickaway County. No one cared, They chased the sheep and they got beat when they got home. That was just about the way it was. But, the thing was, I had a dog that got out first time. I was completely guilty of that. Paid a fine, dog running at large, unlicensed dog. I was guilty. But you weren't going to get me for that twice. I immediately went down, got in compliance. Shortly thereafter, I got the same charge again. This time it was amped up to 3 tickets. I contested that. I'm very vocal. I said some choice words. I told Toby Wills what I really thought of him. Well, he didn't like that. So basically what happened is I ended up in court. As Mr. Sasson said that, everybody gives you a fair shake and a fair review. Well, I got charged criminally. So it really wasn't a fair shake and a fair review at the prosecutor's level. I asked the auditor's office, I took for granted that the auditor's office, who works for the city, would kindly forward a copy of the dog tags to the prosecutor's office on my behalf. That didn't happen. Thank God I had, the hard copy myself. Long story short, I go to court. I used to see Judge Higgins about every morning. I'd drink coffee, had my dog with me at Jay's Towing. I never had the dog on the leash, He got in the truck and he went to work with me every day. I ate donuts and read the newspaper. So Judge Higgins knew the dog, and I go to court. Basically, the prosecutor's office refused to drop the charges. I was in compliance. I went in front of Judge Higgins. I represented myself. I beat him in court. After that, my dog mysteriously disappeared. Okay, I filed a police report that my dog was missing. I had 5 citations Monday. Friday evening was the day my dog went missing. Saturday morning, I went to the pound. I walked every single aisle in that dog pound. The dog was not there at all. Monday, I've got all these citations in the mail, summons to go to court. At the time, Kathleen Birch was the safety director. I figured, I'm trying to get an audience, somebody to listen. I go to the safety director, filed a formal complaint. In the meantime, when I went to court for the criminal charges, represented myself, I won. I beat it. In hindsight, what happened after that, I got charged with felony retaliation, felony intimidation by Toby Wills. Not once, not twice, but 4 times in a 3-month period. These are felony 3 charges carrying 20 years in prison, up to 20 years in prison, $50,000 bond to get out. And if you guys can sit here and think that that's okay for somebody to have to go through that, I can assure you it's not. Not only did I not get indicted by the citizens of the county, it wasn't for him not trying, Essentially, I could have went to prison for what? Because I stood up to the dog catcher or whatever he was, at the point. So, ends up being my dog gets killed. At first, they falsified the records of how the dog was missing. They claimed that they had him. They didn't have him. I forced the issue and said, where's the dog? He's a registered dog. I paid to have the dog tagged. Supposed to be charged $3 a day if the dog's a registered dog. They're supposed to call you. That's the whole point of having the dog registered. None of those things happen. So now my thing is, you guys see all these people in this room every week, pleading for some kind of help. I'm kind of sick of hearing women cry because of the issues they've had with this dog catcher. Men aren't afraid of him, but when you stand up against the Toby Wills, then you just get bombarded with charges. And for you guys to think that that's okay, none of that is okay. I'm not afraid of Toby Wills. In fact, he's afraid of me. That's pretty much the way it is, and that's fine with me. He can be afraid of me. But, Mr. Rath stood up, tried to give, a little insight, tried to give a voice to the people, and that's fine. And it seems like every time that we think we're getting a little traction, getting a little momentum, it feels like we're getting knocked back. What I've always said, I've told everybody, follow the money. Before you guys had this ACO officer appointed, I don't know, I didn't check into the facts of it, whether you voted on it or not, but at some point you guys determined somebody set a budget that made his job possible. You provided him with what he needed to do his job, whether it be office supplies, vehicles, just everything, his wages. So in return, just like any business, I'm a businessman, you guys are stewards of the taxpayers' money. You guys know where the money's going. I heard you take the chief of police to taxed about, 71, 73 officers, this and that, and it come down to dollars and cents. The same thing I say about the dollars and cents of this. You hear these people being fined hundreds of dollars, being put in jail. My problem with that is, okay, you guys don't have anything in your budget that dictates how much money you're going to receive from the fines that these people are getting. And it's got to be totaling thousands of dollars, I would assume, at this point. But where's that money going? I mean, somebody's benefiting from it. And it's the city. It's going into coffers, the fund. It's going somewhere. But it's coming out of these people's pockets. And it's not right, you know. I don't know what the solution is. You know, I got bit Christmas Eve. I got bit by a dog Christmas Eve. It was a puppy, and I didn't give it my last piece of pizza, but I didn't call the dog catcher to come, you know, and make a big hoopla about it. So, you know, there has to be some kind of common ground. You guys certainly have, you know, you guys have big shoes to fill. I understand that, and you guys are certainly responsible for a lot of things in the city. But we as citizens also are the people who voted you guys in power. I don't want anybody to forget the thing that happened in Heath with the red lights. You know, hey, there's no red lights anymore, and some of those people that were ignorant, they also do not have a position in politics anymore either. So, you know, the voice of the people, I think, is a very important tool. And there needs to be, there's give and take. It's like when you were a little kid and you ask your mother, could you stay the night with your best friend? And she said no, you know. You ask a little bit more, and then finally, you know, you could get some common ground with rules. So the same thing I think needs to happen. Common sense needs to start taking place. When somebody's in bed that's worked all day, Tammy's son, he's a hard worker. Guy works outside every day building fences. This man's home in bed, and he did nothing, wasn't even aware that the dogs were out. And he goes to court and the guy gets 10 days in jail. If you think that's okay, tell the news channel, you know, you put a guy in jail for 10 days that was home taking a nap. I don't agree with that. And I don't think you could stand there and tell the people of this world that you could agree with that, because I would disagree with you. And I don't mind to tell you that. You know, it's like, you know, there's a certain individual on the council that has a dog that's not even registered. Now, how can that be? The same person. And it doesn't matter whether they're here or whether they're not here, but you guys are responsible. You know, you can't delegate this authority on these people and not be following the same rules. That's dictation. That's not delegating. That's like a dictatorship to me. I mean, same thing Hitler did. So, you know, there has to be a common ground that we've all gave you guys facts and statistics. Chief Sarver sat here and told us, you know, people are mad if they run a red light and get pulled over. Well, you know, I don't like analogies. I could get a speeding ticket in a Chevette, but it doesn't make it faster than a Corvette. So, you know, that doesn't. I want to speak on facts. And things are facts. You know, facts are really important in life, and all these things, I think everybody has presented facts upon facts upon facts. You can't be too ignorant to ignore the facts. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's common sense that these dogs, you know, people's pets, they're getting killed, they're getting taken. These people are getting all these fines and all. You know, how is that just and fair? Justice is not supposed to be blind. Justice is not supposed to be one-sided. And justice certainly isn't for a certain class of people in this world. So I think, you know, we need to take a realistic view at this and get it sorted out in a fair sense, because, you know, it's like this. No matter what you guys vote on it, I can assure you there's enough people in this group and in this room. We're not going away. Matter of fact, my father's been a mayor for 22 years. I've never so much in my life got involved in politics. And I used to be this kind of guy. If I had a problem with someone, I went to their door and I punched them in the mouth. Well, society doesn't let you do that. You can't do that in life, and you go to jail. So I'm a regular Joe. I get up in the morning, I work, I run a body shop. I stopped, I got a coffee and a donut, and here I am. So, you know, we the people, we do matter. We're going to all be voting. This issue isn't going away. The news channel isn't here because, you know, they don't have anything better to report. It's a polarizing issue, so I think it needs some good thought. And when you guys at first voted to vote on it, when it wasn't full council, but yet it was reported to the papers that it was going to be full council, we know that's poppycock, because it's not full council with the individuals that weren't going to be here. So I just say, hey, take your time, review it in a smart way, and be fair. That's all I'm asking. Be fair to everybody, not just, you know, short-sighted on the issue. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Other citizens who would like to address council? Yes, Ms. Boone?
Hi.
Michelle Porter, 3846 Rockhaven Road. I'm actually outside the city limits, so this doesn't apply to me, but I'm here because it's an important issue. And my family, my friends, everybody important to me does live in town. And I'm kind of speaking for them because they're not here for whatever reason. I had a couple notes I wanted to say, but I'll try and make it fast. A lot of the people who are afraid of pit bulls don't have any experience with pit bulls. Any of you who would vote no against this, I would challenge you to go and meet some of these dogs and see what they're like and get some first-hand experience with the breed. They're not vicious dogs. As far as this lady, if your relative has a puppy that you think is going to be vicious, guess whose responsibility that is? Not the dog, it's his responsibility. I've been a single mother since I was 19 years old. Right now I have 3 dogs, and 2 of them are large dogs. They're very protective, and that's why I want them, because I'm a single mother. But I am the pack leader at my house. My dogs are protective until I tell them not to be, and most of these people are responsible dog owners, and they control their pets. They shouldn't be penalized because of people that don't, or people that train their dogs to fight, or whatever the case is. Nobody wants a vicious dog. You've heard that a million times. All of us agree. If the dog has attacked somebody, if a dog's vicious, 100% you guys should do something about it. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about a little puppy that hasn't done anything but be born, a lot of cases. Let's see. And as far as like he was saying, this is going to change. This law is going to change. It's changing all over the place. It's changed the state. It's changing in every city. So I guess it's kind of a matter of, whether you guys are going to be part of the problem or part of the solution. There's ways that this is worded where it can work for everybody. All you're really doing by opposing it is assuring that these people out here that are here week after week standing in the cold that care about this are absolutely not voting for you. Like I said, I don't get a vote for you, and it's probably a good thing. But, recently I came into some money. I had an opportunity to purchase a house. I didn't look in Newark because of things like this, because I don't want the city or the government or whoever to tell me what kind of dog I can have. It's not fair, and it's, this is the United States. It's 2015. It shouldn't even be a discussion, to be honest with you. I will live outside the city limits until these kind of laws are changed. And I think that you should consider that you're stunning the growth of this town. There are lots of people who, in any cities that have these laws, that won't move there because of that, or people that will move out because, I live where I live now because of the size of the dog I had when I moved out there. I'll 100% live where I want to live because of my dog, because they're my family. So I just hope that you consider some of that.
Ms. Porter?
Yes.
Just a thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, that will conclude the second opportunity for citizen comment. Okay, that brings us to comments from the administration, and we'll start with our city auditor, Steve Johnson. Mr. Johnson. Law Director Sassen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll pass.
Mayor Hall.
I will also pass.
Okay. Members of the Cabinet. Any member of the Cabinet? Mr. Mauder, Mr. Bertram, Mr. Rhodes, anyone this evening? Okay, it passes. That then brings us, am I missing that? Okay. First up tonight is Ms. Floyd.
I will pass.
Okay. Ms. Floyd passes, and I'm just going to go ahead and stay in the normal rotation. And the only thing I was going to say is that we've talked about this before. I have a great deal of respect for everybody's opinion on the dog issue, and I give those that have been here week after week a lot of credit for being respectful and orderly, and that's we really respect your right to come in here and share your opinions. I did want to mention one thing regarding a community. In fact, Ms. Floyd and I, on Saturday night? Saturday night, we went to a magnificent performance at the Midland. It was so sad because it was the star of Phantom of the Opera. I think he was on Broadway for 12 years, and then he traveled the country as Phantom. And he was right here for the second time in Newark, Ohio, and I think we only had about 20% of the seats filled, and it was sad, but it was a bad night. But I'll tell you, he missed quite a performance. He was just outstanding. Send chills up your spine. He was so good. That brings us to Ms. Hall.
I'd like to call a capital meeting. With that, I'll pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Mr. Johnson?
I'll pass.
Mr. Johnson passes. Mr. Maloney?
Yes, I will call a Finance Committee meeting. I want to just share with the council that the Newark Catholic Athletic Association sent a thank you note thanking this council and the city of Newark and the administration for the donation that they received from the bed tax for the holiday basketball tournament, in which they brought in outside teams who supported the community in the way of obtaining additional hotel rooms, as well as I'm sure they frequented a couple restaurants and things while they were here, since it was a 2-day tournament. And so they just wanted me to pass on their thank you and appreciation to the administration and to this council for that. I want to thank Mr. Rhodes. He's definitely trying, and he's definitely listened to what my concerns as far as the capital improvements money. He did share with me that the one item on the agenda today, the pumps for the Hollander pool, he believes that there's a very good chance that he might be able to obtain some grants for that money and get that money back. So I do appreciate his efforts. He says he can't guarantee it, but he's going to definitely try. So I really do want to thank Mr. Rhodes on that. Just a couple of comments. I really do appreciate everyone who is here and speaking passionately about what they believe in and what they wish for this community. I share some of the subjects that are brought up. Definitely are things that I have thought about. I mean, the number of I want to say dog owners, on that list of dog bites that occurred, the number of them, the percentage, if you look at them, that were not in compliance even with our dog license laws is just incredible. I think it's irresponsible owners that create irresponsible dogs, and I will share that bit of information. I've shared a lot of information on it, and I just want to conclude my couple of minutes here with just a story about a dog my first dog that I owned was a German Shepherd Wolf mix, and she was a beautiful dog, one of the most beautiful silver dogs, and had the wolf look in and was very beautiful. She was a kind puppy, and she was very good. German Shepherds are very protective of their owners and those that they are around. Back in the day, and I don't even condone this anymore, but back in the day, everybody chained their dogs in their backyard, and that's kind of how they were kept. Well, there was an alley up on Beacon Road where I grew up, and that's where the dog was back there. And every day, a lot of the kids would come by and tease this dog. and the dog became pretty mean and a little vicious. And it was sad because it was such a beautiful dog. And we basically had to take the dog out of that environment. And fortunately, we had some friends who did have a farm, and we were able to take that dog out to the farm. That dog resided until its last days. She did have puppies, and we were able to obtain one of the puppies. And that puppy was the kindest animal in the world. We learned from that experience not to chain the dog out in the backyard. So the puppy was our second German Shepherd. Never had any issues unless a boy tried to tackle us and tackle football, then we'd have to make sure the dog was up. Because again, that dog was very protective. But it's just, it isn't that the dog was half wolf that made it vicious. It was the fact that kids came by and teased it. And also, we probably did the wrong thing by chaining it up in the backyard. And we learned from that. And like I said, back in the day, that's just what owners did. These days, you don't even hardly hear of that. But again, it's just the upbringing as far as what causes it. The environment causes it more so than the breed. There are those that say, any dog that has part wolf in it is going to be vicious. Well, that dog wasn't, and until it was trained to be vicious, and the teasing that occurred, and also the offspring of that dog was never vicious, never bit anyone, barely even barked. I mean, it was afraid half the time of its own shadow. And so I just wanted to share that information because it is something that I experienced, and I don't believe that it's the breed, it's the bite that really causes the damage. With that,
thank you, Mr. Bonney. Mr. Rath.
Thank you. I guess first and foremost, let me say congratulations to Captain Simmons. We welcome him as the new Assistant Fire Chief and congratulate him. Nice accomplishment. Secondly, I guess I want to say something to all of the people who are here and opposed to this ordinance. And I want to say the same thing to all the people that are here in support of this ordinance. From my heart, I apologize to you. I know tonight some of you would have been here anyways, but I know tonight some of you went through some hardships to get here. Had this issue been tabled 2 weeks ago like I wanted it to, your attendance this evening would have been necessary. So I apologize for making you take another night out of your life to come out here and support an issue that you're so dedicated to. Mr. Tackett, I will never doubt the fact that your father was mayor. You certainly have the gift of gab. Well, maybe just slightly long-winded. I appreciate everything. I appreciate everything you had to say, and I think that your point was right on. For those in politics, anybody that's close to me knows that one of my favorite sayings is, please, don't confuse me with the facts. We've heard from people from the state. We've heard from people from our own community. We've had our experts. We've heard from the president or the director of the Humane Society. We've heard from our own safety director, from our own police chief. We've heard from people from within our community, people from without our community, people from all over the place. I've got a petition up here signed by 1,032 people, while the majority of people that have signed this petition are from Newark. It amazes me that there are literally people here from all over the world, not just the U.S., but all over the world. I see people from England and from Spain, and there were some really bizarre places that they were from as well, and I kind of wanted to hope I could see those, but I don't. But and we hear from people all over the place, and I am out in the community a lot, and I talk with everybody that I see constantly, because did anybody guess that I like to talk? And I don't even have to ask them about the dog issue. They come up to me and tell me about the dog issue all the time. People from all walks of life, all different social, economic backgrounds. And I've not had anybody come up and say they oppose this. And quite honestly, for somebody to tell me that it's the democratic process to take this to the voters, in my mind, it's just flat out lazy. Because we took this to the voters. I took this to the voters just over a year ago. And I took it to the voters just over 5 years ago. 5 years ago, they said, yes, we want Jeff Rath to represent us. A year ago, they said, yes, we want Jeff Rath to represent us. Guess what I'm doing? I'm sitting here representing you. And I'm going to cast a vote on this based on what I believe is best for the city of Newark. And I'm not going to shun it off to you to go out and do more work and more effort and more research and go out and get hundreds of petitions signed just so that we can take a vote from the city of Newark, who really, if they don't have no pun intended, a dog in a fight, they don't know what they're voting on. It's up to us to educate ourselves on the issues and cast a vote based on what we think is best for the city of Newark. I know more now about dogs and about pit bulls than I ever thought I ever would. Been a dog lover all my life. I thought I knew about them before this. This is just absolutely amazing. So I appreciate all of your dedication. I'm going to ask you to come back one more time. I want to ask you to keep giving us facts. But if we won't vote on the facts, start giving us some stories. Maybe pull our heartstrings. If all of the facts that are presented don't sway a vote, then start pulling on our heartstrings. I don't know what else to do. So thank you guys for coming. I got my little necklace back here in the back. Somebody else made these. And I was given this, but I appropriately paid for it. And I think there's probably more of these in the back to help support a good cause. So if you guys are interested in those, very inexpensive. With that, I'll pass.
Big thank you, Mr. Ryan. Mr. Rolletto.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to congratulate Assistant Chief Simmons as well and Battle Pass.
Thank you, Mr. Rolletto. Mr. Blake's not with us tonight. Mr. Bub.
Thank you, Mr. President. A few items this evening. We'd first like to thank Service Director Rhodes and the many city employees that have been working around the clock to keep our roads clear. I know it was a bit of a challenge yesterday with that federal holiday. Also like to congratulate Assistant Chief Simmons. And finally, I just wanted to recognize and highlight a few happenings in the city of Newark. It's my understanding the lofts above Argyle Photography were full within a week. It's a redevelopment. I think it's very impressive. So congratulations to Liz Argyle. Had a chance to tour the subway next to Chop House Restaurant. The glass was in last week. It's quickly transforming into a state-of-the-art building. I guess they're going to be open within the next month. That's great for the downtown. It was also at the Trout Club last week. If you haven't been up there, you need to stop up. It's also turned into a state-of-the-art facility. One thing I took out of conversing with the owner is how happy he was, and I wanted to relay this to the mayor, of the relationship he's had with building code and the fire department. That also goes to Director Spurgeon. He said it's been seamless. So appreciate your leadership with that and bringing that those relationships together after they were hurt a few years ago. So congratulations on that. And I believe that's it. And with that, I'll pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bob. Mr. Cost.
I need to call for a service committee meeting, and with that, I'll pass.
Thank you, Mr. Cost. One thing that I'd like to mention is that February 28th is the annual Kiwanis Pancake Day, and it's the first time in many years it hasn't been done here at First Presbyterian. It is going to be at the old fiberglass field house. What's it called now? Can someone help me with that?
Grove by the River.
Grove by the River. Who owns it?
Goodwill.
Goodwill, okay. It's going to be Saturday, the 28th. It's such an important event. It supports Camp Urbana, which is really an important entity in our community. Well, I think it starts, I think it's like 7 to 1 or 2. I know that. I know breakfast and lunch is available. I can tell you that. And with that, do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rath, second by Mr. Bub. All those in favor of adjourning, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed, same sign. Thank you very much.